Betsy Brown, you and I have known each other for a very long time, and you've worked with a lot of different organizations. Tell me where you're going today.
I am flying into Pakistan today. I'm going into Islamabad, Pakistan, to try to assess and be involved in the current flood crisis.
You've been to some of the more well-known major disasters on the planet. Can you tell people a little bit about just some of the places you've been?
Yeah, I was in Turkey after the earthquake of '99. I was in Gujarat, India after a big quake, 2001. But the most significant would be the tsunami that happened December of '04, and went to spend 2 weeks, and I really basically spent a year in parts that were actually near the epicenter.
NBC Nightly News actually did a piece on you a year later, and you were highlighted as one of the people that was representative of those who were really bought into the tsunami response. Is that? Do you have any recollection of that?
Yeah, that was cool. It was the 1 year anniversary, and so they were on the ground and, just kind of trying to get stories. And, I took them to one of the villages that I really invested in and some pretty cool stories. So I think that aired Christmas night of '05. It was pretty cool.
Well, Betsy, the reason why I brought that up is I think it's important for people to understand that this is not your first rodeo. You've been a few places, seen a few things, especially when it comes to response. So
Yes.
You have some idea as to what you might be getting into. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there are certainly some unknowns, but I have a pretty good idea of what could happen.
The size of this is really off the charts. A lot of people are saying that this is bigger than other major events combined. What is your take on that as far as what that could mean to you when you arrive?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I've heard that 1/5 of the country is underwater, which is pretty staggering. I think that I will be met at the airport and that I will have lodging, but I am prepared. I have enough food to sustain my life for the time that I'll be there. I have a water purifier unit. We have some plans for communication. I've made some contingency plans because, it is kind of a bit of a hostile area, and particularly for a woman. Yeah, I'm not totally sure. Some things I can assume, but there are some things I don't have a clue about.
Well, you did mention something I think I'd like you to comment a little bit more on.
Sure.
One of the things that we talk about in international disaster response is going in and not becoming a victim yourself. You add to the burden by not being prepared. Have you seen that kind of thing happen in experience in the past?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the helpers had to be rescued themselves because they didn't bring food, or they had some kind of illness they didn't tell their team about, and they crashed and burned and had to be rescued. So sometimes it attracts kind of some crazies, but I have a feeling this situation is so hostile that you've really got to intend to get there to be involved in this one.
Well, Betsy, for what it's worth, I think you're crazy in the best sense of the word. So tell me what led you to respond to this event. Sometimes you go, sometimes you don't. Can you kind of describe events where you haven't gone and why you're going this time?
Yeah, I didn't respond after the Haiti earthquake. I thought about it, of course. I mean, I have my BlackBerry wired, for any kind of seismic activity around the globe, 5 point and more. And so, within seconds, I knew about the Haiti earthquake and knew it was going to be horrendous. But I knew that they would get help. The response was quick, and the response was huge, and it was all over the news. And I felt like there were plenty of people to do it. This one kind of tugged on my heart because it has been so quiet in the media, at least in America. I talked to a friend in Australia, and she said it's the lead story every day. But we're not hearing much. You have to dig for the stories, and just the overwhelming number of people that are involved grabbed me, and I guess the lack of response. I thought, well, what can I do to go assess and then be noisy once I know, once I get my feet on the ground and know what's going on, maybe I can be noisy and stir some stuff up.
As far as working with others and doing that, you're going to be working with David Bopp and the International Disaster Response Network, IDRN. Tell us a little bit about the assessment process and your experience with how that plays into the larger response.
Well, we'll connect with local people on the ground, and local small organizations that have been very engaged from the beginning, and we've been in communication with them really kind of from the beginning. They were already established relationships, and we don't go in just cold, or I don't, but I really try to empower the local people. And so it's a matter, first of all, of just sitting and talking to them and saying, what is needed as you see it? And then to get on the ground and to begin to see the medical needs, the water needs, the shelter needs. I think part of my role is to tell the story, to be able to truthfully articulate exactly what's going on and the needs and how people can help.
Well, part of that story has to do with where this is in the world. It is a challenging, sometimes misunderstood, dangerous part of the world. Do you feel any concern about going into that area yourself just because of where it is?
Well, as you said, it's not my first rodeo, and I've been in some pretty crazy, scary places. I think the complication with this one is the militants or the militias or whatever you want to call them. The Taliban is in this area, and it is a very much male-dominant region of the world. So I know that the rules for me are different, and I want to be very, very sensitive to the culture and not cause more of a problem. In fact, I had quite a conversation with the local director of the organization where I said to him, I need to tell you, I am not afraid to come, but if my coming will bring more security issues and more danger to you, I do not want to come. I have blonde hair and blue eyes. And he wrote back and said, oh, please come, we need you. Well, I will tell you that today in the beauty salon, my hair went from blonde to brown, so I'm no longer a blonde-headed, just in an effort to not stick out so much.